You won't believe how one woman quietly stole the hearts of millions, without ever taking center stage. She wasn't the lawyer, the detective, or the big movie star. But she was the one constant, the steady soul beside the storm. Her name? Barbara Hale. And her story is far more than just Perry Mason's loyal secretary. It's a tale of quiet strength, Hollywood glamour, true love, and a friendship that lasted a lifetime. Born on April 18, 1922, in a small town called DeKalb, Illinois, Barbara Hale was just a regular Midwestern girl with big dreams. Her dad was a landscape gardener, and her mom kept the house running. Nothing in her early life screamed Hollywood, yet something about Barbara, her calm poise, her striking eyes, made her unforgettable even as a teenager. She grew up in Rockford, went to high school there, and then packed her bags for Chicago, thinking she'd become an artist. Not an actress. Not a star. Just someone who could maybe sketch ads for magazines. But fate had other plans. While studying at the Chicago Academy of Fine Arts, Barbara caught the attention of local modeling agencies. Suddenly, she was on the covers of catalogs and ads. That face, that elegance, people noticed. And then, Hollywood called. She signed a contract with RKO Pictures in the early 40s, and just like that, her life changed. Her first film role came in 1943, in Gildersleeve's Bad Day. It wasn't Oscar material, but it got her foot in the door. Over the next decade, Barbara built a solid film career. Not flashy. Not scandalous. Just good, dependable work. She starred alongside some big names, James Stewart in The Jackpot, Rock Hudson in Seminole, Robert Mitchum in West of the Pecos. Every time, she held her own with quiet grace and depth. Then came 1949's The Window, a suspense thriller that turned out to be a surprise hit. People started realizing Barbara wasn't just pretty, she had real acting chops. But it was 1957 when everything changed. That's when Barbara Hale became Della Street. You know the name. Della Street wasn't just a secretary on Perry Mason. She was the backbone. The brains behind the scenes. The moral compass in a sea of courtroom chaos. She was smart, poised, and unshakable. And Barbara? She played her like no one else could. Over 9 seasons and more than 270 episodes, she helped define what it meant to be a professional woman on TV, decades before we ever used the phrase strong female lead. And right beside her, always, was Raymond Burr. Their chemistry was something special. It wasn't loud or romantic in the traditional sense. It was deeper, built on trust, mutual respect, and that rare, unspoken bond. Together, they became television royalty. And in 1959, Barbara's work was officially recognized when she won an Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actress. But what a lot of fans don't know is that Barbara Hale didn't just fade away after the show ended in 1966. She came back. From 1985 to 1995, she reprised her role in over 30 Perry Mason TV movies, still playing Della Street with that same quiet strength, now joined by her real-life son, William Catt, who played Paul Drake Jr. That's right, Barbara's son followed in her footsteps. You might recognize him from The Greatest American Hero. That acting gene ran deep. Now, let's rewind for a second. Back in 1945, Barbara was filming West of the Pecos when she met another rising star, Bill Williams. Real name? Herman August Wilhelm Catt. He was athletic, charming, and had just returned from military service. On-screen sparks turned into off-screen romance, and in 1946, they tied the knot. It wasn't just a Hollywood fling, it was the real deal. They stayed married for nearly 50 years, raised 3 kids together, and kept their family life remarkably private despite their fame. In a town known for quick marriages and quicker divorces, Barbara and Bill were the exception. Their love story stayed strong right up until Bill's death in 1992. And when Barbara talked about him later in life, her eyes would light up with love and pride, not just for him, but for the life they built together. And then there's Raymond Burr. People always wondered about their relationship. Were they just co-workers? Was there more? Barbara never spilled secrets. She was classy like that. But toward the end of her life, she started sharing a little more. In an emotional interview, she called Raymond her friend, protector, and one of the kindest souls I ever knew. She talked about how he carried the weight of Perry Mason on his shoulders but always made sure she was supported and seen. How they laughed off camera, shared long conversations, and comforted each other through tough times. "He was my Perry," she once said softly. "And I'll always be his Della." That kind of bond? It's rare. Barbara also had a short but meaningful run in radio. Yeah, she tried that too. She wasn't in dozens of shows, but she made appearances in important ones like Voice of the Army, Lux Radio Theater, and Family Theater. It was a different kind of acting, no cameras, just voice and emotion. And even there, she shined. In her final years, Barbara kept to herself, living peacefully in her Sherman Oaks home. She suffered from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, a lung condition that made breathing harder. But even when her body slowed down, her mind stayed sharp. Her family was always close, caring for her until the very end. On January 26, 2017, at the age of 94, Barbara Hale passed away. And with her went the last living thread to the original Perry Mason cast. Fans around the world mourned, not just the loss of a great actress, but the closing of a golden chapter in TV history. She had brought dignity and grace to a role that inspired generations. She wasn't flashy. She didn't chase headlines. But she left a mark that time won't erase. Her legacy lives on through her films, through Perry Mason, and through her son William, who still carries that family torch. She wasn't the loudest voice in the room, and she didn't chase the spotlight, but Barbara Hale had a presence that lingered long after the credits rolled. Whether it was the quiet strength she brought to Perry Mason, the devotion she showed her family, or the loyalty she extended to Raymond Burr and her colleagues, Barbara defined a kind of enduring grace that's rare in Hollywood. Her life was proof that you don't need scandals or stardom to leave a legacy, you just need heart, talent, and the courage to stay true to who you are. So if you ever find yourself watching a black and white rerun of Perry Mason, and you see a woman standing quietly beside the courtroom giant, offering support, wisdom, and just the right line at the perfect time, remember, that's not just Della Street. That's Barbara Hale. A true original. If you love this story and want to hear more about the hidden icons who helped shape the golden age of TV, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. We've got so many more legends to celebrate, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.